Please welcome Sally Almonte, Stephanie Chico, Christina Delgado, Sunny Hobbs, Jules, Anna Mitchell, Amy Silverman, and Julie Wood. Welcome, guys.
They did that so well.
Cool. Just like rehearsing.
Just like we rehearsed.
So it's interesting. We have so for those of you that don't know, we have 8 CAB members. They each serve 2-year terms and they alternate. So we have 4 new members every month. And for us, we sit at the corporate office. I think we have a perspective on the business. But if we did everything just from our perspective, we would probably get even more things wrong than we already get wrong. So that's why we have these guys.
Yeah, and I think as you look at this group, I mean, it throws everybody in. If you look at the group, it's interesting. I was looking at it last night. We were just doing a little bit of a walkthrough on rehearsal, and as we have our discussions, as we interact. There are 8 very distinct and different voices, and as we put this group together, that's part of the consideration. This isn't a group that comes to us and said, pick me, pick me, pick me type of a thing. We go through our list and say who represents different ways of developing their business, growing their business, who's going to be vocal, who's going to add insights, who's demonstrating good leadership. And we try and pull all of those pieces together and say, okay, how does that fit into where we're going and what we're doing? And sometimes we look at the needs of the business and say who will bring a specific set of skill sets that might be insightful. And this, as we shared a couple of times already, this group has been a great group, not only from a gelling standpoint together, but a group, I think, that disagrees very well together. If you will.
Yeah, you think the wall is tough. Sit through one of our CAB meetings.
And just maybe we'll jump into this if we want to hear more from them. But the interaction that we have with the CAB is an ongoing process where we meet 2 times over the course of the year. At the beginning of the year, we'll meet up in Utah for 2 or 3 days, a couple of days. All hard work, no play, no fun. And we have a set of issues, an agenda. They submit issues and agenda. They hear from you. We will meet here for several days. So on Wednesday and Thursday, we met for full half a days of discussion. We have a CAB wall, if you will, that we will forever be pushing information or questions out. The what about, here's an idea, give us some suggestions. And so that tends to be an ongoing discussion. And then we'll have a number of conference calls, Zoom calls that we'll host throughout the year where we'll talk about stuff and about what's working and what's not working, and hard to believe, but what we might be missing.
So how about from your guys' perspective? What?
I wanted to jump in and say it's not necessarily just you guys asking questions, it's us seeing things in the wall and within our team pages and being able to bring that directly to corporate, especially just being the voice and being able to represent.
Agreed.
Now, what do you think? What's your experience as a CAB?
I mean, with all due respect, you guys are incredible at what you do at leading this company,
Yes,
but I mean, we really are doing the job. We are the coaches actually implementing the things that you put in place. So it's our role to sort of challenge that when we see that, hey, this might not work for the network the way you're envisioning it to work. And so we get to be that voice to kind of say, hey, why don't you gut check here or try this there.
Right, I think to a large extent, and even before I was appointed to CAB, I kind of didn't know what we did. And I think a lot of people might think we're kind of just figureheads, right? That we just, there's 8 people and at the end of the year you get a trophy and you move on. But in fact, that's completely not what CAB is. I'm usually the one that's like this in the meeting. Every time Michael opens his mouth, like, have a comment. And I really do feel like our voices are being heard. And I wanted to assure you that we are looking at what's going on and we are addressing those hard issues with the executives and the executive team.
Yeah, but I would add to that, though, that when we do it, though,
our objective isn't just to be like, how are we going to challenge Beachbody and them and what they're doing. Our objective is also to think about how are we going to challenge the network to step up? How are we going to challenge the network to grow? So we're not just doing it from their side, but we're just being like, you know what? The network might have to think about where they need to change, where they need to evolve, where they need to. So the conversations are tough on both sides, because that's the only way it's going to be a symbiotic thing that happens.
And sometimes we agree to disagree.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, that's a good point. Sometimes we agree to disagree. We actually, you know, there's been a lot of discussion. I think a really hot topic that we have a lot of discussions around are our recognition programs. And are they addressing the right behaviors? Are they creating behaviors that we wouldn't want to have? And just to kind of understand that process, what often happens is, we'll surface a thing, you know, we'll all kind of think about, are there different approaches, are there things we can add or not add, and actually we were actually going to introduce something related, talk about something related to the elite program for 2017, and we had a really good discussion about it, and we were going to announce it here today, and after the discussion, talking to these guys, we realized that we weren't all on the same page, and that we needed to hold off and work harder and think about it and make sure it's addressed. And so, you know, when we think about all of the things that we talk about, there's everything from our recognition programs. We've gone through, as we're, even something, I'll give you another little insight, you know, the reality is that the transition to kind of a digital world, what does that really look like? What does it mean? And those are things that, as on our side, on the corporate side, we're trying to figure out that roadmap that may actually be a 3 to 5 year roadmap, but without really these powerful discussions that I think we have around all of these topics, we wouldn't get there. And I think that we could make some missteps. So
I was just going to see a quick example was even our Success Club registration. We know that there is only a limited number of places, that, you know, only so many people we can accommodate, and then it becomes an issue of how do we get the right people, if you will, or give the right people the greatest opportunity, you know, to participate. There's lots of ways to skin a cat, so to speak, you know, and so sometimes it's picking between, you know, good, better, best, and our agenda is let's do the best we can with the resources, and while we may see it one way, you know, these guys see it a different way and say, we think from a coach perspective it's better served, and it's just a great, you know, a great gut check. And so I think there's lots of trying to check the ego at the door, if you will. There's not a lot of pride of authorship.
Yeah.
And just do the right thing for the right reason, and that's why the CAB exists. Just one other little piece is we really try to not have this group be a recognition group, you know, from the standpoint of giving a lot of recognition to, like it's an earned rank, because it's not that. We ask them to help us out, and they graciously do so, and they spend time away from family and from their organizations. And so we certainly want to recognize them to the extent that they do that. But it's not something that's an earned title, other than we think they're going to be a good voice with good thinking and good minds, and it's for the benefit of the network. So I guess from the recognition of that, which is probably the most valuable and meaty of all, they do a
you
good job of that.
but the reason why we actually are all sitting up here, aside from kind of just describing, you know, what the CAB does and how they contribute, you know, when we have these discussions, which are frequent, and we have these Zoom calls fairly frequently, and whenever we're in the heat of the discussion, somebody will pop up and say, we should have a leadership training about that, you know, and it happens all the time. Actually, we just had a call last week, I think, and somebody said, we absolutely need to put this on the leadership agenda. And it was like, well, the leadership agenda is already set. But it happens so often that, you know, as we're talking about, these are things that really would be so great if all of our 5 stars and above can be kind of brought into these conversations and have actual ongoing sort of leadership discussions and leadership trainings that aren't just on, once a year at the leadership retreat. We have our national wake-up calls. Those are really geared towards kind of the general public. And we thought that we needed to find a way to more frequently bring these issues out to the 5 stars. So actually, we came up with this idea called the Coach CEO Forum. And so what we're going to do, starting in November,
Well,
is-
Michael, can I
Yeah.
I'd love to have these guys give a little bit of context on how that idea
Sure.
got,
Yeah,
the context behind that.
yeah, Vito, why don't you jump in?
Sure. I can be forthright, not sugarcoat anything here.
Absolutely.
Perfect. We were sitting back and we were on a Zoom looking at everything that's going on right now with everything on the wall and everything going on. And as I'm taking it all in, I'm just like, you know what? The thing that's missing right here is we have to teach the network how to think like a CEO. There's our problem. We just don't right now. That's the gap that we've had in our trainings, yet the opportunity now that we have to say, you know what? A CEO would look at what's happening out there right now and be like, you know what? These trends, these things, this shift to digital, I could sit back and understand that I'm moving the platform. I know that this is going to be a short-term pain for the long-term gain. So instead of the sky is falling, this is happening, all sets. I'll strategize. Like when Melanie, wherever Melanie came, she looked at it, it was just like, boom, this is how it operates. That's a CEO level thinking. We just haven't done enough of that yet because, it's what it has been. It's just been, a lot of people, this is their first business. They haven't yet been, they don't sit around and study marketing and business and entrepreneurship. We do a lot of personal development around feel-good stuff, inspiration, motivation. Well, we're a mature network now. We've got a lot of leaders in this room that are ready to be like, no, treat me like a CEO. Help me understand trends. Help me understand
So,
that.
Vito, what would a CEO, when you say think like a CEO, what are just, I don't want you to go into a training here, but just at the very top level, what are the things that in a training that we would need to cover?
Well, the one I think right now that would help a lot is kind of something that you guys have been starting to do right now when you're starting to put up different trends in data and help them understand it. We can help you so what do you see when you're starting to see this retention go down this way? What does it mean? How do you look at it? How do you understand it? Because they got to understand the data sometimes. I know that's not as sexy as it sounds, but that's what a CEO does. It's like, well, you got to get the point. So I'd be looking mostly at how can we start first just analyzing certain key performance indicators or trends of what's happening out in society, changes of platforms, changes of different things like that, and help them understand it so they're like, I see where we're going because I understand evolution, technology, etc.
Yeah. How about other people? What do you guys think that leaders would need to?
Well, I think lots of what we talk about in CAP comes down to belief in the belief system and the belief in the products and the business, the opportunity in ourselves and the potential and the possibility. And for me, everything has a story and relates to life. And I think about my husband is a college football coach. He's been a coach for 20 years. We have a game today, as a matter of fact. And there's been a lot of advances in the game of football, much like we've had a lot of advances in our business. The technology gets better. You can break down game film better. The helmets are better. The uniforms are cooler. But it all comes down to him on a field with a 19-year-old kid and taking what he knows will work and his belief in the system and the process and in that kid and in the potential and transferring it into that 19-year-old kid. And we've got a lot of resources and a lot of technology and we'll have a lot more training, but it still comes down to us, eye to eye, face to face, with the coach, the challenger, the customer, transferring our deep, bone deep, so bright belief that it almost pours out of our ears. It's so bright. Our belief that just like that 19-year-old kid can stand on the field and throw the ball down the field and his teammate will catch it on good days, that we too can tell that challenger, that coach, yes, you can do this. I believe in you. And that belief comes from in here. And there are ways to deepen our belief. Amy and I are pretty passionate about one of them. I know she's going to talk about that. There's ways to deepen our belief, but so much of what we do in CAB, when we talk about it, and so much of what we do every single day comes down to getting better at transferring the belief that we have, making sure that that's deep, and transferring that to that 19-year-old kid, that challenger, that coach, because all the other stuff, the fans in the stands and the band and the cheerleaders and all that stuff that happens on game day is white noise if that kid doesn't believe in the system, in the process, and that the coach believes in him. And all of our stuff, the trips and the incentives and the ranks and the success stuff, it's important, but it's white noise. If we don't believe in the potential and the possibility of what we have, and we transfer that, get better at transferring that to our teams.
And I feel that that makes us less reactive. I found myself seeing top coaches posting stuff about volume, and I questioned it. So, not because I don't believe, or because I don't trust the company and the mission, but because sometimes you get distracted with certain posts. And so we did something about it. We got together, we discussed it, and you looked into it, and you looked into it, and then we came up with a plan. But more than that, I would teach my team to trust the process, to trust their belief system and the mission of the company, because at the end of the day, when you have trust, that just fires your soul up every single day so you can continue to give top-level service to your challengers, because they're the ones who matter. And they're the ones that are going to pick up the volume, and they're the ones that are going to get us to the next level in our business.
I also wanted to comment, I mean, all of this goes with what I'm going to say about, CEO mindset and the belief system and being proactive versus reactive. And I know a lot of times we forget or we get distracted with the fact that, we can build, I personally feel that, having training on how easy your business can feel if you are so focused on the fitness and, the results that you are personally getting from the program. And, I remember when the launch of PIO happened and I was so butthurt that I didn't get picked for the test group because, hello, I should have been in the test group. Don't you all feel that way? What? I should be in that test group. But, instead of being well, I gotta wait for the next launch to really capitalize on this, I went and got PIO certified. I hosted a retreat with teaching PIO. I didn't see anybody else do that ever. And so I found a creative, out-of-the-box way to set myself apart and elevate myself and not wait for the company to elevate me. And we have that same opportunity with Core de Force. Thank you. And, I did the same thing with Insane, and then finally I got picked for the Insane Max 30 launch, and that's the only test group I've ever been asked to be in. And instead of just using the test group to make my business flourish, I took the results that I got from Insane Max 30, and it was what happened after I completed the program, and the months after that, and the years after that, that grew my business. Not that 60 days in the test group, but the 3 months, the 6 months, the 12 months that I milked that program and my results and got more results from my team and my customers and used those results. And we have that same opportunity, all of us, with the launch of Core de Force, to decide, are we in that test group now, whether corporate says we are or not, and are we going to take it and get the results, and how many months are we going to milk those results to be able to take this and make it my program and be able to make it for my team and to be able to continue to get the results that sells the program. And when you focus on that, the rest just comes easy and it flows and it doesn't seem as hard and difficult.
We've got a couple coaches to hear from, but I want to just make a note on what you said, and I think is the kind of the essence of this, what we're going to talk about, this Coach CEO Forum, that is, it is treating your business and us helping provide some content for a forum so that you do start to look at it differently and create these moments. So, because we can say believe, all those pieces, but there are systems and there's thinking and there can be a discipline to that. But I think we all believe as a company, we've now elevated to the point where we need to step up the professionalism in our thinking and the forward-thinkingness of where we are. And so the structure of what we want to create is founded in taking ownership, not only for the company, but treat your business like your CEO business. There's $1 million businesses out there.
Well, I forgot to say too, I was so happy to hear that we don't have a launch in February, because now we have the opportunity to all take this program and to really focus on it rather than letting shiny objects distract us. And we can really take it and just really show our teams and teach our teams and train them how to do a launch and how to really milk a launch by being personally doing it first ourselves.
And evidence goes, yeah.
I think the key word here is opportunity, and obviously this is a growth year. We all can feel that, but I think back to the beginning of all of our businesses, my business, building in the beginning and being hungry and seeing like the blessing of a new beginning. And so if we can maybe just shift our perspective a little bit and look at right now as a brand new beginning and seeing the potential for growth and the blessing in kind of starting fresh and getting to get back to the basics and what made us really hungry in the beginning, it just makes it fun. It puts the joy back into it and it just simplifies it so much.
And I think about hearing all you guys talk about acting and thinking like a CEO and the belief in all of these topics. And if I think about that, I'm like, well, what could we train the network on? And when I say train the network, also what am I struggling with? What does my team struggle with? And a lot of times you see hard parts in your business, the difficult trends or times of your business, and it can be easy to focus on that versus some of the things you guys have talked about, like staying focused on falling in love with the programs and the basics of what we're teaching here with the vital process at leadership. And I think about that, and if I were to do a training that I think everybody would need, myself, my team, perhaps some people in here, would be on perspective, like having the perspective of what it takes to build a long-term business. Also the perspective on like what is really hard in life or in business, and the fact that we have, for example, these 7 CAB members that are fighting for each of us to help us better our businesses. They're contributing with systems and sharing their results. And I think about the corporate team, you know, with all that they do for us as well. Like we do things for them, they do things for us. And we don't have to do all of that on our own. And I think a lot of times we lose that. So like a training on some kind of perspective to help us understand like that these coaches have your back, the corporate team has your back, and I think something like that would be valuable.
Yeah. Melanie?
So I think all of this is great, right? You have the belief, you have the results, you're thinking like a CEO, but what's the action item there, right? How you actually put it into place. And you guys know me, I'm like the systems queen. So I just think, you know, really being able to provide that training on, okay, what do you do with all of this great information that we have? How do you actually create the plan? And through the seasons of the 12 months out of a year, how do you continually implement so that you're getting results? I think that would be really value added and something that would really help the wall become so productive, and so we can all grow together.
Yeah, so like even here, so a number of topics that sort of surface, how to think like a CEO, how to transfer belief throughout your organization, how to create action plans, how to get perspective. So we think that going deep on these things would be valuable, and we know that there are probably many other topics out there. So starting in November, once a month, we actually are still trying to figure out probably somewhere through the wall, we'll be facilitating these trainings. I think we're going to try and convince Vito maybe to step up and do the first one in November. But again, the trainings will probably be led by people that won't necessarily be led by CAB members, but leaders in the organization. And I think that this is an opportunity also for you as leaders. If there are things that you're struggling with and you say, I just wish we could have a discussion or I could get trained on this, what I would encourage you to do is through your regional directors, get those messages, get those requests for training topics to those regional directors, and we can continue to have this ongoing discussion and training every month and address, you know, real issues that leaders are feeling. So, we didn't hear from Christina.
Let me talk.
I just always hear her talking in the back of my head. That's why. Go ahead, Christina. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you. I think there's a lot of overlap and amazing topics, but if I were to pick one thing that I think everybody needs to hear, it's how to set realistic expectations in this climate that we're in. I think, and you heard me yesterday where they said that our income, we have more income success stories now, right? We can all agree with that. There's a bigger cross-section of the network that's making a lot more money, and so we kind of got away from setting being transparent in the hustle. I heard that yesterday, right? So people were coming in to your teams expecting to be overnight successes because they didn't see the work that you put in. And what I've been doing this year with my team, and what I would love to share with you guys, is how you communicate that at the different levels of your team. To a new coach, to a mid-level leader, and to a senior leader. What are the expectations that they will encounter as they grow a business? Because if you are honest about that and honest about the good and the bad, I think sometimes we're afraid. We're afraid to say, you're gonna have coaches that quit. You're gonna have diamonds that drop rank. You have to have vision to keep going. If we have those communications, I think as a whole, then the network improves because the quality improves.
Absolutely. Great point. Sorry I skipped you. Glad you spoke up. No, really, it is a really great point. And you can see this is how CAB meetings go. If we don't let them talk, they find a way to talk. But anyway, as we said, these guys really have been a great at representing all of you, all of the coaches. We're sorry actually that 4 of them are ending their term at the end of this year. We're excited that there'll be some new CAB members coming up, but we did want to take a minute if Darren and Angie can come out for our 4 members who are finishing their terms, Saudi, Amy, Vito, and Melanie. We have a little trophy, and we wanted to say thank you for. And actually, if everyone stand up, I really do think we should give a big hand to all 8 of our